Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kerigo, and I'm the host today. Our topic is about how to deal with anxiety. I think that it's something everybody has been looking forward to. I've looked up what the meaning of anxiety is, and I looked up in the Cambridge Online Dictionary, and it says that anxiety is an uncomfortable feeling of nervousness or worry about something that is happening or might happen in the future. So that's what anxiety means. And I've looked up something else on online link called Calm Clinic, and it says that it's okay to sometimes be a little to worry about something, but going over the line is when now you have anxiety. And then it says of the bad things that can happen to your body and to yourself when you actually have anxiety. And that's why we'll have to deal with this topic today. I'd like to call on Shiko, please, to give us her opinion on how she can deal with anxiety or how we can deal with anxiety.
Yeah, hi. I think everyone does get anxious from time to time. And even though I feel I'm a very laid back person, I do get anxious sometimes. For example, when I was going through my divorce and I had to go into court, I had no one, it was just me and all these barristers and judges and my ex-husband. And I was really anxious because I didn't know what to expect. So that just not knowing what to expect made me feel anxious. But then you just think, you know what, it is what it is. If things are out of your hands, there's nothing you can do by worrying excessively about it. And that's what we always do in our sessions at Four Wings. I don't know, there's some people here who've attended. We have always spoken about if there are things you can't change, they're completely out of your hands, there's no point in worrying about them excessively. Obviously, it will be on your mind, but worrying about them excessively doesn't change anything. And we should instead focus on the things that we can actually do something about. And that's how I try to live my life. If I know there's something I can do about an issue I'm worrying about, then I do it. If there's nothing I can do, I really do try to distract myself and my thoughts, interrupt them, so that I'm not focusing on things that I cannot change.
Wow. Thank you so much, Shiko. What I got from you is that a good point is that it is what it is. It's you sitting there worrying about it, crying over it and sweating and whatever will not help it. You deal with it if you can, and if not, you really have to distract yourself from worrying too much. Thank you for your opinion. We'd like to hear now from Shamsa.
Yeah. Before I will start, I agree with Shiku that you distract your mind, and as you explain what anxiety is. So I would like to discuss that we should know before that what exactly triggers the anxiety. So you need to, feel that what is triggering your anxiety. If you know the thing, then you can cope with it. And there are so few other things that you can cope with anxiety, because some in the life there are some points that everybody face the anxiety or feel unease or feel fear. For me, you need to face your fear. You don't need to panic or you don't need to feel uneasy. You need to face that fear. And there are some other points which I want to tell you. If you can do that, you can cope with your anxiety. Like you can tell to your trustworthy friend what you are feeling or fearing with. You can share with your friend, get moving, take exercise, break up with caffeine, give yourself a bedtime, feel okay saying no. Sometimes you feel anxiety when you can't say no. You need to learn say no to other people, and eat healthy food or good lifestyle. That's it.
Wow, thank you, Shamsa, for giving us different ways we can cope with anxiety, and also pinpointing that when you have anxiety, it's important that you figure out what it is that's making you nervous, what it is that's giving you the anxiety. And after you've found out what is giving the anxiety, you've suggested that we face that fear, we face what is making us anxious, and then maybe do exercise or whatever to distract ourselves from that. Those are good points that we can all take to heart. Thank you for your telling us about it, Shamsa. So now we'll have Marie-Claire. What do you have to tell us, Marie-Claire?
Oh, thank you, Kirigo. I definitely agree with the Chiku and Shamsa. The most important steps to coping with the anxiety, it's recognizing the triggers and identify them. Once you achieve that step, then you know how to cope them. But personally, as Chico said, we all have have anxiety now and there, and personally the way I cope with anxiety through natural remedies. I know there is a step where you have to take medication, but I realized that natural remedies work for me, and that includes deep breathing and concentrating on positive thoughts. Definitely helps. As Chico said, there are things which are beyond our control. And then once you recognize that there is nothing you can do about it, it's always a good point to move on and concentrate on the things you can do. And then also yoga, as I think I mentioned about, the skills or things you've been doing to help us coping during the lockdown. And I think all those things, whether it's mental or physical, can really help with the coping anxiety. And the music, I've realized that, music kind of helps me coping with a lot of things. So that's a part of how I cope with the anxiety, and either aromatherapy, deep breathing, with the yoga. So whatever works for you. So as soon as you recognize the triggers, you know they are coming, then you can use all these natural remedies which help you. And as Shamsa said as well, things shared, always good. If you have a good friend who can listen to you, and some people use counseling or whatever works for you, it's always good as well to try to get all those fear, thoughts, anxiety out there. And who knows, people, sometimes it requires for someone to listen to you and they guide you in a, or either people have experience, how to deal with anxiety can always, and some of them can always help you.
Thank you, Marie-Claire. I've written down some of the points you said, and one of the things you said is that if you can't do anything about the problem, that you should move on. I think we all agree. There's no need of trying to thinking and somehow thinking that something will change. It's better to move on, and you can move on by using maybe music. That's what you suggested, and I agree. We've had a session before where we talked about music. It helps us to relax. So those are good points. And also maybe, like you mentioned, talking to someone, most probably a therapist, can help actually to combat a lot of anxiety, for us to calm down and not have it too much, that it doesn't consume us so much in our life. Thank you very much. Maggie, can we hear what you have to tell us, please?
What I have to say about anxiety and maybe stress at the same time, like Shiko was going through trouble, some marriage or something. I too, but mine was not a divorce. It was between divorce, separation, and marriage at the same time. All these things were there. So I had that anxiety. but I didn't know I was dealing with it differently, and even the way the therapist suggests at that time. Because myself, when I was anxious, if something troubled me, I just put it aside for a while and then distract myself. I'll come back to it when it doesn't have that weight, and then try to digest. Because with anxiety, there's some anxiety which you need to think, because when you think is when you are able to make some decisions. Because if you don't have thoughts, then what decisions will you make? You only make decisions when you have thoughts. So what you do, you just have that reality check. You come back to the thoughts and then think, because sometimes it's just fear of the outcome. You don't know what the outcome will be. That's what you fear. And maybe what you think the outcome will be is not the way the outcome will turn out to be. So sometimes just go back to your thoughts and question your thoughts. Tell them, ask them, is it what I'm thinking or what I'm thinking? Is it really true or reality? Is it? So that's how I used to do it, and I could sleep on it. If I had some anxiety, I just sleep. Whatever it is, I sleep. Then when I wake up, is when now I can think properly straight and make a right decision. So that's how I used to deal with my anxiety.
Thank you, Maggie. We got a few pointers from you. You said that when you had the anxiety, like Shamsa, you suggest that you face the anxiety in the eye, face your fear, think about it. Think about what it is that's making you anxious, and if what the outcome will be. And that's what, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Think about what the outcome will be, and for you, you felt that's what helped you by trying to see, is it really gonna be that bad? And that sometimes what we think is gonna be so bad turns out not to be so bad after all. It's also in another way, also a kind of positive thinking, trying to look at it in a positive way instead of thinking everything will turn out so bad. Then now, thank you, Maggie. So now we'll have Jose.
Yeah. For myself, how I deal with anxiety. Sometimes it mixes up with panic attack, and if if they are if they are mixed together, it becomes terrible. So how I deal with it is like Marie-Claire said, you just try to think positively. You just have to bring positive thoughts so that you can distract yourself. And something else that helps me, it's music. I just play music out loud, and then I make sure I try to put a music that I can sing along, so that it distracts me completely. And the other thing that that helps me is to talk to my best friend. If I call her and then I have to tell her, I'm dealing with this, please let's try to have a conversation, positive conversation, so that I can forget about what's going on. Mostly that's what really helps me to deal with my anxiety, because sometimes for me it becomes terrible and then it mixes with panic attack, and where your heart jumps and beats so much, the way you think maybe I'm going to die, you see. So that's what helps me mostly to deal with it.
Thank you, Jose, for sharing about how you deal with your anxiety. You mentioned you have panic attacks. I think that's really the worst kind of anxiety, when you get into a panic. And normally when people get into a panic, it's very difficult to get them to go down, because they have all sorts of, I know that from some people I know, you have all sorts of thoughts coming at you and you're not thinking normal, and it takes some time to actually go down, take that completely down. So you said music, and I think it's you also at another session mentioned music. And I agree. And I think Maggie also mentioned music another time where she just puts music and it distracts you. But you said music that you can sing along, and I actually agree. If you have music that you can sing along, you will forget because you need to concentrate on the song and the words. And so in that way, your mind gets distracted. So actually, that's a good point for us to remember. When you put music, try a music you love and you can sing along, that is in your head. We all have that kind of song we can hum to remove our thoughts. And another thing we all agree is friends. Talk to friends. We all have at least one friend we can talk to. And a friend could be a family member, a husband, it can be anything. So use that to help you calm down. You can hear Jose said she tells the person that, I'm having this, please talk with me, let's talk. And that makes her panic attack goes down. So that's also a good point to remember for each of us. So the next person we'll hear from is Antonella. Antonella, please unmute and proceed. Thank you.
I think that Shamsa wanted to add something before my intervention. She has written that she wanted to add something.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Antonella.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I just wanted to add about anxiety attacks. Usually peak within 10 minutes and they rarely last more than 30 minutes. But during that short time, you need to find what you can do in this, time span. You need to divert your mind in 10 to 13 minutes. If you can do that, you can cope with your anxiety very well.
Thank you, Shamsa. That was a good point. And Shiko, you have a point too?
Just along with what Shamsa said and what all of you have said, the key is to interrupt the thought. And if you have music on or you're dancing, it's hard to dance or sing and then have negative thoughts in your head as well. And that's what we always do in our sessions. We say, make sure you get up. You have to act, do an action. Get up and go do something, because if you're active in something else, it's very hard to also be thinking those thoughts. We know those thoughts usually come when we're sat down, laying in bed, whatever, not doing something. So it's so important to be active and do something to interrupt the thought.
Definitely. I'm sure all of us agree with that point. The music, get active. There's one of you who mentioned about finding something to do also, just like Shiko mentioned. Get yourself busy. And Shamsa said it takes, if you act on that anxiety feeling coming, because you can feel it coming, you can feel it slowly coming. Do something immediately. Do whatever it is that you feel you can do to remove it, because action is what will help instead of sitting down. Actually, I agree with you, because the more you sit down, the more you're gonna worry, the more you're gonna chew on whatever is bothering you, and the more anxiety you get. And if, like Jose, you get panic attacks, it's coming. So we need to identify, as Shamsa earlier on said, identify the problem, the fear, face it headlong, and find out what you can do about it. Thank you, Shamsa. So now we'll have Antonella.
Hi, thank you. Basically, I also share the point that Shamsa and Shihu and all the other panelists affirmed. When I have to deal with a little or average problem, so the level of difficulty is sustainable, I try to do my best to do my life as this problem was not there. So, for example, this week was full of anxiety for me because I had 2 important university exams. What did I do was to prepare all the program and to finish to review all my notes in time, so that I could not feel the anxiety that I usually have when I don't study. So I've learned from my mistake, And 2 days ago, I went out with some friends of mine. Like if 2 days later I was not supposed to have it. What do I want to say? I would like to say that my strategy to deal with anxiety is to keep it as normal as possible. When I have such a big problem like pandemic or a health issue with my relatives, in that case the anxiety is so big that I keep all things inside myself, and in those cases I've needed in the past the help of a psychologist.
All right, Antonella, thank you. I think what I got from you is that, for example, when your anxiety maybe is coming from an exam, what you've done before is to make sure, which is a good point, make sure you study thoroughly, make sure you prepare everything thoroughly so that you don't now have something to worry about. And I agree with you. If you know you've studied for your exam, you've done what you should be doing, any level of anxiety will be greatly reduced because you've already prepared yourself. And that's what I think it's a good one for people also, especially who have to go to school and do have to study. A lot of people really sometimes really have the anxiety take over because they get so disturbed and so up here that they don't even do well in the exam. Yes, Antonella again.
Thanks. May I just very quickly add the last thing? In fact, what you say, it's so true. Sometimes I have the testimony that lots of people, myself included, sometimes at the university exams, when we are sitting in front of the professor, it's the anxiety that make our marks lower.
Exactly.
For example, the teacher asks something that we are sure about, but we are not able to deal with anxiety, and it seems that we have not studied. And it's such a pity because, on the contrary, maybe that person is well prepared for this.
Antonella, you're so right. You know what? I've taken my driving exam, I think 4 times now, and I've failed 4 times. Not because I can't drive. Even the instructor is always, he's in amazement. He says, Shiko, when we go with you, you're driving perfectly. And then when we go to the test, he doesn't know what happens. And it's all down to anxiety. It's got nothing to do with the knowledge or what you're good at or what you're not good at. It's anxiety, and anxiety can be paralyzing. And that's when it becomes a problem. Because when your fear paralyzes you, then you're not able to act the way you want to act. And that's why we need to work on ourselves to see, is this a rational fear or is it irrational? And then we can act accordingly. Because I don't know why I get all flustered and I can't do the things that I usually do very well when I'm not under an examination. So it's very true what Antonella says.
I wish you good luck,
I
Shiko.
totally agree.
That, you will be good at time number 5. It will be the last. Like Mambo number 5.
Now that we've had the anxiety, yeah. Antonella, by the way, a good point I learned when I was going to school here in Denmark is that when you have an exam, I read somewhere and it helped me. When you sit there in front of the examiner, tell them, by the way, just so you know, I'm a little nervous. So if I'm a little, I can't start up immediately, please just bear with me. Tell them that and they will actually look out for you. I learned to do that and they were always kind because I told them before that I am very nervous, please, so please bear with me.
And can I add something as well?
Yeah.
I remember back in Africa during, I mean, in the refugee camps, there were people who were selected to be resettled to abroad, and then you had to take some tests. So some of them, because of being having anxiety and having a panic, they would like if they are taking blood pressure, and their heart will be beating, so the result will come as if they've got the problem with their heart. So it's something which is really bad when you can't control the anxiety and panic. Yeah, you can have a result which is totally wrong, where just because of being having that beyond fear.
Actually, it's true, because even when you take someone's blood pressure, you're always told they should be relaxed, they should be seated down and relaxed. Don't have a conversation with them to make them start, like you're saying, the heart starts beating, and the results will be not correct. There'll be wrong results because they were not calm, they were not relaxed.
Yeah,
it's true. So now we are ready to hear from Shiro, who has patiently been waiting for her turn.
I have had a few situations that made me anxious. And one was being in a toxic relationship that was so stressful. So the way I coped with it was getting physically active, because I like hiking. I'd go up the hills and sit and relax, try and relax my mind. It was very refreshing. But the problem is I'd still come back to the same situation. So for me, as helpful as it was only like a temporary thing. So for me, the solution was to just get out of that relationship, which I did, and that solved the problem. And then now, last year I had an experience that left me very traumatized. And like Jose was talking about panic attacks, I would get panic attacks. I couldn't sleep at night. I'd try to have some light music on. I still couldn't sleep. So this, for me now, the solution was going to a doctor, and the doctor gave me some anti-anxiety medicine, and that also helped me sleep. It was also a sleep aid, and it helped. Eventually, I managed to get over that. I get panic attacks sometimes, but it's not as bad as before. So now when I have anxiety now in this situation that I'm in, I love going out to hike. For me, that's the solution. It just helps me a lot, getting active, listening to music. And then also I speak to, I have like 2 very good friends I can talk to, and my sisters who are like my pillars. And help. You just need a listening ear, not even someone to give you solutions, just someone to listen to you, and that helps you deal with that situation that you're in, even though they may not be able to help you resolve it, but it helps you calm down and know how to deal with it.
Thank you, Shiro. You've also highlighted the same things that apparently we will at the end talk about what actually has helped each one of us. Shiro says hiking helped to a certain point where she would feel anxiety, then go out for a hike and come back and feel better. But at the same time, she realized that it was not enough, that she needed to remove the cause of the anxiety. And sometimes, remember, guys, that's what we have to do. We need to remove whatever it is, the stumbling block that's making us have anxiety all the time. And as we all know, that if you have constant anxiety that leads to, like Jose and like Shiro says, panic attacks, in the end, it affects your mental health and also your body, so that you start getting high blood pressure and other things that come with high blood pressure. So it's important to find ways to stop the anxiety. Thank you, Shiro, for sharing your points. And now we'll have Imani, please.
Yeah, so I have a bit of anxiety in 2 situations. One is when I'm invited to an event or a party where I don't know many people, and I'm like, that anxiety kicks in. What am I gonna do? So what I normally do in that situation is I have this saying that I got from my mom, saying that this too shall pass, which I always use like to remind myself, like, this issue that I have. If I feel uncomfortable in a party or whatever, I don't know many people, it'll pass, and I make myself try to talk to more people, so I feel less anxiety because I get more comfortable and the anxiety goes down. So that's what I normally do to solve that situation. And another situation where I get anxiety is when I'm going to town by myself in a place with a lot of people. And I don't know when it started, but sometimes I get a bit of anxiety. And I think it's from the feeling of thinking people are staring at me, which is annoying because already in Denmark, I know people stare, especially if you stand out in a way, especially in a country like Denmark where there are not that many foreigners compared to other places. So in that situation, I'll listen to music like you guys suggested, or take gum, because for some reason chewing a gum can actually help nerves. I don't know why, but that helps for me. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Imani, for giving your points. And I agree with that saying for sure. Everybody, a lot of people know that saying, that when you have you're in a situation where you're totally overwhelmed, always remember this too shall pass. I mean, no situation lasts forever. It really does pass. And I know that because I've been in situations where I was working as a temp worker, where it was just, I was thinking, oh my God, what am I gonna do? My GPS is not working. I have to be at this client at a certain time. How am I gonna do this? And I was panicking, not panic attacks, but just panicking, extremely anxious. Then I remembered, you know what? If I get late, I get late. This too shall pass. This day shall come to an end, and it too shall pass. And that actually helped me to calm down. So it's a good point to remember, guys. Remember, whatever situation you are in, this too shall pass. Nothing lasts forever. I don't know if Jamila wants to say something, Jamila, or would you like to contribute, please?
Yeah. Basically, I just wanted to talk about, because there's different types of instances where you can have like anxiety. And for me, it's when there's a confrontation. And I didn't know this until maybe last year, when a group of my friends, close friends of mine, were arguing with each other, like really badly. And I wasn't involved in the argument, but I started getting really I couldn't breathe. I think I was having an anxiety attack, and I was like starting to like tear up and cry. And it doesn't have to be when you're sad, it can also be when you're angry and frustrated. So I was like starting to cry, and I was like, what is this? And then I realized that I've had them before when there's been times of confrontation, even when it's something to do with me, like just a tiny argument, or someone has said something to me in the street and I have had to say something back, and I wouldn't show how I would react, like usually if it's like when I couldn't breathe and I was feeling like I was gonna burst out in tears and just break down. But I'm able to deal with it in smaller instances, but I can still feel my heart racing, and I can never keep my heart rate down when it comes to those things. And then I just thought about it, and I was like, that sounds a lot like an anxiety attack. And I only just realized 1 year ago, when it's been going on for years. So it's kind of like a thing where you didn't really think about it in the first place, and you just thought it was normal to do that, but it really wasn't. And I think that in schools especially, I don't think they try to teach you about it. So people don't really know what anxiety is, and they think that it's stuff where you break down and have panic attacks all the time, but it's not. It's also in tinier like instances where your heartbeat is rising, but you're not showing it, and you don't, like, people on the outside can't see it. So yeah, that's my view.
How have you been dealing with those attacks?
Well, I've never had like another serious one like that, but usually I just put earphones in. I put earphones in, I listen to music, or I read a book, or I leave or exit from the situation, if it's like at college or something, I try and talk with my friends. Sometimes when it's like anxiety because you're angry or frustrated, I will talk about it and just continuously speak about it until I've gotten everything out, and my heart rate goes lower, and then I'm like, okay. And then you think about it and you're like, okay, I was a bit, it wasn't even that serious for me to be having an anxiety attack. So yeah.
Wow, Mila. Thank you for sharing that. It's interesting that you say that you had it for some time and you didn't even realize that you had it. And that's because, like you're saying, we are not taught about anxieties, how to deal with them and stuff like that. So you're going around getting anxiety attacks or some sort of attack, and you're not even aware because it's not something that is like talked about. That's not what I'm thinking. It's not something that's talked about. You know what I'm thinking? When I was like in standard 1 in Kenya, I used to have panic attacks. Now you're talking about it. It must have been a panic attack because I would get stomach aches because I was being bullied at school. And for some reason, I didn't tell my parents. Don't ask me why. I would tighten up my school belt because we had a dress that had belts on both sides, some whatever, and I would tighten it trying to make the stomach go away. But it's because I was being bullied by this girl in school. And I would get literally sick with a stomach ache. And you can see, you don't even realize you're having a panic attack because it's something that's not talked about. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing this. And I think we are going to talk about ways that each of us has talked that will help to remember why it's important to deal with the panic attacks and how we deal with it. Does anyone want to mention some of the things, or should I just summarize them?
I think you should summarize the points that we got from everyone, and if you forget anything, then we'll say something.
You'll come up, yeah. Shiko, I can't remember what everybody said, but I remember Shiko said that it is what it is. We need to know that thinking about it, crying about it, doing whatever, but I mean, doing other things that are not helping you. Like, as we say, just thinking without finding a solution doesn't work. You need to know that it is what it is. And then after that, face the fear. That's what Shamsa said. Face that fear, know what it is. Identify what it is that's triggering your nervousness, your anxiety, your panic attacks. Identify what it is and deal with it if you can. Shiro said another thing she does was that she removed the cause of the anxiety. It's so important. Mila also said the same, that when she felt like that, she'd put music in her phone to remove that anxiety. Jose talked about also listening to music, and because the music helps you to get distracted. You get distracted when you listen to music. And I think it's Maggie who said that when she has anxiety, she makes decisions of whatever is making her get anxious. She finds a solution to whatever is making her get anxious. She faces it and finds a solution. And one thing we all agreed is that friends, a therapist will help with the anxiety. This is so important. If it's for example, a panic attack, we can't face it all alone. Find a friend, confide in a friend, listen to music. Those are the things I got from this, unless there's somebody else who has something to add.
I just actually wanted to add a couple of things from our empowerment program so that they're in the video for the viewers, and I'll just share the screen because it's sort of a summary of things we've spoken about. So one is this, what we think is what we are. So whatever thoughts you have in your mind, they'll become your beliefs, and those beliefs will determine how you feel, and then your feelings determine how you act. Okay, so thoughts are so important, and that's why it's so important to make sure we're recognizing negative thoughts and positive thoughts, because they will actually have an effect on actions that you take in your life. So if you go around panicking and thinking, I cannot deal with this, then it ends up manifesting as you not being able to deal with it. So important to recognize the cycle of thoughts that we have. Another thing I wanted to say is what Kirigo said, and I don't know who else said, that thoughts are not tangible. They're actually not something you can feel or touch, but they can have an effect on our physical bodies. Kirigo said she had stomach pains. People get depressed and then they also get sick, physical illnesses. So that shows you how important it is to make sure we're interrupting negative thoughts, because they can actually have an effect not just on our mental well-being, but on our physical bodies. So to make sure we deal with those things immediately. Another screen I want to share is just quickly, and as I said, I'm doing this so viewers can also see, is just a summary of the things we've said today. And that's also we do in our program. So ways to interrupt negative thoughts: thought busting, offloading, writing a journal, action techniques like exercising, singing, meeting a friend, brainstorming, which is finding a solution for the problem, reality checking, is this thought based on facts? And is there anything I can do the situation I'm in? And then visualizing. So these things will be included in the video. And if you ever want to go back to just see how you can deal with thoughts and anxiety, they'll be there in the video. And to summarize for you, Kirigo, so number 1 is recognize the trigger. Number 2, analyze the thought. Is it rational or irrational? And number 3, act. Whether that's dancing, singing, talking to a friend, whatever it is. So it's just 3 steps that we need to take.
Yeah, Shiko, it's true. I also remember Maggie said one thing, and we have to understand this, that being worrying and having a little bit of anxiety is important for us to take action in something. And that's true. For example, if you don't have some sort of worry or anxiety you don't have that, if you will be pushed to make a decision. And I think it's Maggie who said that, and I wrote it down here. I just hadn't reread it again. But it's true that we need a little bit of anxiety in our life for us to push forward, for us to reach our goals. It's just when it goes overboard that's what we are talking about. That's what we don't want. Guys, this is our last session for our group chats about different issues people face in life, or different whatever that we've had in our hearts to talk about. 4 Wings is preparing something else very soon. We've enjoyed having each and every one of you. It's been a pleasure. We've learned a lot from each other, and I hope the people at home have also learned something. I'm sure they have. And I look forward to another session of 4 Wings where we can all share and learn from each other. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you very much for listening to us. And we hope to see you again. And please rate our video, and please subscribe to our video.
Yes. And keep in touch, because we'll be back. We'll be back soon. Yeah.